Thank you for joining me today for a meditation practice and a movement practice, and just being willing to take some time to take care of yourself, especially with everything that's going on right now. It's really important that we keep ourselves, stable and regulated as best as we can. Obviously, that's not going to be just like, oh, we're flat all of the time and nothing upsets us. It's important to get upset, right? I think that's something that people really need to acknowledge is there's a time and a place to be upset. There absolutely is. But doing that for such a long period of time is not sustainable for our bodies and minds. And so finding little moments of respite and moments where we can kind of come home to ourselves and acknowledge everything that's going on, but still take some time to feed our minds and our bodies and our souls, and whatever you need to do for yourself is super important. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Your body will appreciate it. And let's get started. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to kind of see where we're at. And I like to usually start my practice with kind of a body scan. And if you haven't heard of the body scan, that's okay. It sounds kind of dramatic, but basically all it is you start either at your head or your feet. I like to start at my head, and I like to just say, okay, I'm going to start at my head and see where is there tension in my head. Do I have tension in my face? Do I have tension in the back of my neck and my skull? Do I have tension through here? How are things feeling? And you don't necessarily have to change anything in that moment if you want to. If you're noticing, oh, I've really got some tension like in between my eyebrows, let that go. Or in my jaw, let that go. And if you want to touch those spaces of your body and even do like a little self-massage, whatever feels good, you're welcome to. But if you just want to sit with wherever you're at, that's okay too. Things that I tend to look for when I'm doing a body scan is what areas of my body feel like they are not doing well and what areas feel like they are. And as I move down towards my shoulders, I might notice some tension. I might notice sensations like an itch, or maybe I notice some pressure, or maybe I notice that an area feels really good. Maybe I worked out and it's sore. Maybe it feels really relaxed and balanced. Just notice those areas in your body. So as we're coming down through the shoulders and through the arms, and you can move those if you want. Sometimes I find that moving them feels really good, and just noticing. And as we continue down into our stomach and our abdomen, how does those areas of your body feel? And we can move down towards our pelvis and our hips and our glutes, and all the way down into your legs and your knees, your calves, your ankles, your feet. Just kind of notice. And once you've done a little bit of that noticing of where your body is at, you might have a better idea of how to help yourself. If you are noticing that your mouth is really dry and you need a sip of water, go do that. Just take a minute to acknowledge those areas of your body. If you need to use the bathroom, feel free to pause here and take a break and go and acknowledge any of those immediate needs, because I find that at least personally, I start to, when I get stressed, not realize how stressed certain areas of my body are or what my needs are physically, and then I just sort of forget to take care of them, and then that makes the entire experience worse. So if you need to get some water or take a bathroom break or get a snack, please do so. All right, now that we've had kind of a base check-in with ourselves, I think that we can move on to our next step. And for me, I am noticing that tonight I need some movement. And I did like a little bit of phrasing and journaling, and I will share that with you guys. But just to start, I want us to start small. So let's think about some micro movements in our body. Maybe you need to wiggle your fingers or your toes, and then maybe that expands to your wrists. Maybe you even need to rock side to side. Whatever movement, move your head, whatever part of your body feels good. You can bend those elbows or joints if that feels good to you. If it doesn't, maybe find some other way to move your body. Even if that's just a gentle rock side to side, that is absolutely okay. So let's just find some sort of rhythm and some sort of movement that feels good in your body. And then when you have found like a consistent rhythm and movement in your body, you can kind of expand that a little bit. So we'll just make that movement a little bit bigger. And again, only to the extent of what feels good. If you ever feel pain or you feel extreme discomfort, absolutely find a different movement or feel free to stop. Another thing you can always return to is placing your hands on your chest here on either side and tap one and then the other back and forth, right? And there's some science behind tapping, but this is really comforting, both because it makes you use both sides of your like brain in a way. You are using both sides of your body and your nervous system, I should say, rather. So because you're forcing your brain to figure out how to use both sides of your body, and they are physically crossed like this, it can kind of help you return to that rhythm and that movement. And this can feel really, really comforting. It also feels a little bit like a hug or like a heartbeat, just that rhythm of your body kind of returning to that. And sometimes if I feel really agitated or stressed, I'll start out, kind of quicker, and I'll start out kind of a little bit more firm of tapping. And then as I move towards, more relaxed state, and this can sometimes take quite a while, I'll start to move a little bit slower and a little bit lighter, and something about that is really comforting. So that's something that you can always return to as well. But if you're finding that bigger movements feel good in your body right now, definitely do those as well. I always like big arm movements. I like to go up and then kind of swan dive down and grab my elbows and rock side to side. This is one that always feels really good to me. I don't know, the side stretch maybe. Something about that feels really good. And you can put your hands down towards your toes if you want to. Remember that we are doing this very gently. We don't need to hyperextend our bodies. If you're somebody who's extremely flexible, you don't necessarily have to be going the full scale. If you want to be doing arm circles, you can be doing them really gently like here, or you can go all the way. It really just depends on where you're at. So find some movement in your arms. Maybe this is swinging back and forth within your limits. This feels really good to me too as well. I like doing this back and forth swing. But what we're doing here is we are just utilizing all of our different muscles in our body. So a lot of us sit at desks all day, and a lot of us sit on our phones, and a lot of us are even sometimes doing specific work like lifting heavy boxes. And you get in these habits and these routines in your body, and you kind of forget that there's so many other muscles and there's so many other things going on. And so when you use your muscles in a different way, you kind of build and release tension, and you're teaching your brain that it is okay to build that tension, but also, more important, that it's okay to release the tension. So when I'm asking you to swing around and do silly things in your bedroom, it might feel really unusual because you haven't done this very much before, right? And this isn't something that is really typical, especially for people who are adults. We don't tend to just swing back and forth in our bedroom like this or do really big arm circles. I'm so sorry, my light is flickering. So if it feels weird, embrace that. And if you feel any emotions come up with that or any experiences, maybe you want to do something with your legs, maybe you want to, go back and forth or lift your knees. If you feel emotions come up with that, that's okay too, because we are kind of taking a break from distracting ourselves in some ways, right? And we're learning to distract ourselves in others. So another one that I really like is these toe touches. You probably haven't done these since you were in elementary school, but that rotation can feel really good, especially in the lower back. So just finding different ways to move. And you can do this for as long as you want. And I'm gonna move on because I have a limited amount of time for this video, but feel free to pause here, find some movement that works for you. If that's yoga, if that's cat-cow, if that's, any of the things that we just did, feel free to continue that. Okay. We're gonna move on now to, these are just, I don't know what to call this, so I'm just gonna do it. I wrote a couple of things that I think might be helpful to people, or at least that I found helpful. And I guess you could call them kind of like affirmations, but they're not affirmations that are going to feel untrue, right? A lot of times when we have affirmations, if we're stuck in a place where things are really, really hard and really challenging for us, saying something like, I love myself just as I am, feels ridiculous. And we all strive to get there, but it just feels so ridiculous and untrue that it's not helpful. And so if you need to start by just stating things and grounding yourself in that way, stating things that are true, objectively true, right? So I am here in my bedroom right now, right? I see that I have a lamp over there and an overhead light here and fairy lights over there. Those are all objectively true things, but they're also grounding me in my environment. And so that's the more like objectively true. And now we're gonna get more into abstract things. So if you want to start by saying something in your environment, just point at something in your environment and say, I see blank, right? So I see a t-shirt. Or I see a guitar, or I see whatever. Just start with that, and then we'll move into some of these other things that I have journaled. Okay. We're gonna start with, I am allowed to feel anything that I need to feel. And if you want to repeat that, either to yourself or out loud, feel free to do that. If you just want to think on it, these, go ahead and do that as well. I am allowed to feel anything that I need to feel. Sometimes it feels like we're not allowed to feel things. You're allowed to feel things. You're allowed to feel anything. I am allowed to be scared. And I am allowed to be brave at the same time. I am allowed to be scared and brave at the same time. I am allowed to be sad. I am allowed to be sad and have moments of joy. Joy does not take away the power of my sadness, the power of recognizing what matters to me. Joy keeps hope alive and keeps me going. I am allowed to be sad and have moments of joy. I am allowed to feel hope. I know that things feel kind of doomsday. I know it's a really hard thing to chase right now, but you're allowed to feel hope. Whatever experience you have that brings you hope, cling on to that and find ways to continue that, because it's really, really important. And finally, I am allowed to feel angry. I'm allowed to feel angry. You are allowed to feel angry, and you are allowed to let that anger direct you to what is important to you and what you are passionate about and how you want to help, and what you want to do with that is really important. But I think sometimes people skip directly to like, your anger means something and you have to do something about it. But you are just allowed to be angry to start out with. And if you choose to continue after that, that's up to you. But you are allowed to be angry. Yeah. Some other things that I have written down is that I know that there has been a lot going on that has been really, really negative. And it is important that we understand the negativity and we understand what is happening and we understand why things are the way that they are. But we also have to look for hope. And that's a really hard thing to do. That is one of the hardest things to do that you like ever, and some people will never get there. But it's really, really important to try. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I have seen. And these aren't things that you may or may not have also seen these things. But a lot of the times we say, oh, I saw this horrible thing, and I saw that horrible thing, and I saw this horrible thing. But there are a lot of other things that I have seen in my community that I think deserve just as much attention. And I have seen people caring for each other. I have seen people sharing and donating and acting in ways that they believe in and doing things. And I have seen people creating art that will last for much longer than we will, and create stories that show the purpose and the moral and the message. I've seen people create art that makes people feel things. And I think that's also really beautiful and really important, even if it came out of something absolutely horrible. I've seen people speaking up for what matters and what they believe in, and for others. I've seen people loving one another and caring for one another. I've seen people singing and laughing and crying together and finding that connection in their community. I've seen people believing in a better future and in a better life and in themselves and in others. I've seen people believing in a lot of things, and I've seen people having hope. I encourage you to continue to try to understand what's going on and to help your communities in the way that you can. And I also encourage you at this point to take care of yourselves. Sometimes we don't realize that we're stressed. I have had some really profound experiences where I thought that I was totally okay and then realized that I wasn't at all. And if that's happening to you right now, or if that's going to happen to you, I'm here for you, and I'm a resource if you ever need like a one-on-one session of trying to figure out how you can integrate anything into your life. If you don't know where to start, I'm here to help you find resources, and I'm here to try things out with you. I love you all. That's everything that I have for today. Take care of yourselves.